I feel really privileged to be here today. As the introduction said, my name's Scott Pugh. I head up our global accounts at LinkedIn. I've been at the company for around 6 years now. I also feel privileged to be the only male presenting at the conference today, the token male, but I think I've got some a really good perspective on what diversity and inclusion and gender diversity and the importance of it within organizations. So firstly, I'd like to tell you a bit of a personal story about my background. I'm going to give you a bit of a story around how LinkedIn has gone through our journey around diversity and inclusion, and just really some key takeaways that you can each take back to your business to try and to develop a diversity and inclusion strategy. There you'll see a picture of me and my beautiful wife, Indra. We met in sunny Sydney almost 16 years ago now, and we've been very lucky to live in many countries around the world. We've lived in Sydney, London, Hong Kong, and now Singapore. And when we met in Sydney, I was just a backpacker, and Indra was a high-flying exec within the cosmetic industry. And actually much of our movements around the world has been me following my wife and really supporting her career. She now manages the Asia Pacific region for one of the big luxury goods companies. And it's really been able to give me a perspective on the challenges that women face in terms of breaking the glass ceiling and reaching the upper echelons of the business world. There you'll see a picture of my son, Luca. He's just turned 4 years old. Luca is obsessed by princesses. We stood in line in Hong Kong Disneyland for about an hour to get that photo. And I think the obsession came from he watched Frozen when he was like 2 years old, and the story of a powerful female, and was just obsessed since then. To the point of you can see him there dressed as Anna. I didn't put him in that outfit, it was his choice. I didn't expect to be sharing this photo until his 21st birthday. I've been saving all these photos to embarrass him. I didn't expect it to share in a business presentation. But the reason I do share it is that when we talk about diversity and inclusion, at LinkedIn we focus on belonging. That sense of being able to bring your true self to whatever you do and not pigeonholing people and forcing them to conform. And I don't believe that just needs to happen at work. I believe that should happen at home as well. There you'll see a picture of my team together in Sydney. We work for LinkedIn, but across the entire Asia Pacific region, from Japan to Australia to India, Hong Kong and Singapore. And for me, when building the team, it's really important to be able to represent the local markets that we cover, and having diversity, not just in gender, but in ethnicity, in background, in experience, in sexual orientation, is really key to be able to bring a team together that has differing thoughts and are able to win together. So, very quick introduction to LinkedIn. So I hope that many of you are on the platform. Please connect with me if you are. Our mission at LinkedIn is about connecting the world's professionals to make them more productive and successful. So we've been very much focused on white-collar professionals and helping them be better at what they do. But the vision for LinkedIn is around creating economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. So not just focusing on professionals, but focusing on the 3 billion workers in the world today. And really, that manifests itself in what we call the economic graph. And for us, this is a way for us to be able to map the global economy, to really help both elevate countries, cities, and the people within those to be able to understand the opportunities that are going to exist tomorrow. So we map the number of members. We've got 560 million members, the companies they work for, the jobs that those companies are trying to fill, and the skills that are required to fill those jobs. And then it's around the educational institutions that people acquire those skills, and then the knowledge each and every one of you have that you share with your networks to be able to make each other better at what you do. Okay, so to tell you the story about how LinkedIn came on our journey from diversity and inclusion, I have to go back to 2014 when Mike Gampson here, who's our global head of solutions, essentially the second in command at LinkedIn, he was visiting Hong Kong, and I got to have a meeting with him, and he told me the story about how just that past year he had got his executive team together. They'd all stood on stage and did an all-hands, did a talk with their employees in one of our offices. And one of the people fed back is, after the meeting and said, do you realize that all the people on stage are like white males? And do you know what he hadn't realized? And he had been a victim of unconscious bias. And actually, at that point, only one person within the executive team was female, just 6% of our executive leadership. And he had an epiphany, he had a light bulb moment where he realized that as an organization, for LinkedIn to win, we needed to change that. And he describes it as, he doesn't believe in diversity because it's in vogue. He believes in diversity because he likes to win. And from that point in 2014, Mike went on a journey to be able to, along with our CEO, to be able to really transform our the diversity and specifically within gender within our organization. And so they set out a strategy that was around 3 core areas. So around hiring and growing a diverse talent place, and to be the place where diverse talent gets an opportunity to thrive. And then lastly, building a culture where people are able to have a sense of belonging, where they're able to bring their true selves to work. So when we think about diversity and inclusion, I'd like to take it back and actually look at the Oxford English Dictionary definition of what diversity and inclusion means. So diversity is the quality and state of having many different forms, types, and ideas. And that manifests itself in many different ways. We have people here today from multiple different organizations, whether it be manufacturing, industrial, media, advertising, FMCG. So the makeup and the diversity of each of one of your organizations can be very different. Now, inclusion is the action or state of, or being included with a group or structure. Now, whilst diversity and inclusion is important and necessary, we don't believe at LinkedIn that it's completely sufficient. And so when we talk about diversity and inclusion, we don't feel that it's complete without the sense of belonging. And that is about being authentic, realizing you matter, and feeling like you're an essential part of your team and organization. And so then we actually go by the acronym DIBS. And actually the best way I can describe this is diversity is about being invited to the party, inclusion is about being asked to dance, and belonging is the DJ playing your favorite song. And really for LinkedIn, this is about building a world-class team of superheroes that are able to work together on a common mission and a common goal of realizing our mission and vision. Okay, so whilst if the outcome is engagement and diversity and inclusion is the foundation, belonging is what links this all together. And I'd like to give you a bit of an insight into what we've done at LinkedIn within the Asia Pacific region to really push forward the mission, the strategies of diversity and inclusion. And firstly, creating that sense of belonging is not easy. It's something that we really have to work at on a daily basis. So some of the things that we do within the organisation to give people that sense of belonging starts from the very first day they join the organisation. Whether it be throwing a party at the desk of the new person that started, we put helium balloons around their desk when we have a new joiner, so everyone around knows that person's a new joiner. We're very lucky to have free lunches at LinkedIn, but we have that as a time to be able to communicate and work with other people around the business and to be able to build that collaboration across the company. At LinkedIn, we put every one of our managers through internal training called Manage In, and really we believe that every single person deserves to have a great manager, and a manager that leads with compassion. And so every one of our managers will go through this training. And really it's about us listening to our employees and including their voices. And I'll talk a little bit about how we enable that. We empower our employees to take on projects, which I'll also talk about in a moment, with our employee resource groups. And we solicit input. We send out surveys on every 6 months to our entire organisation to really get a pulse, a sense check about how our employees are feeling. And understanding how they feel when it comes to belonging is a really key part of that survey. I heard a couple of phones go off earlier. We have a policy whereby if we're in meetings, we have a no technology policy. We think it's so important for us to, even though we're a technology business, when we're in a face-to-face situation, we want to be able to connect and give people our full, true selves. And be able to share our stories and much, much more. So this is how at LinkedIn we create that sense of belonging. Now within Asia Pacific, some of the 3 key areas that we've been working on, I mentioned about Mike's story of his unconscious bias of hiring a supremely talented group of people, but people just like him, a group of clones. And really we put through all of our employees on what we call unconscious bias training, breaking bias training, to really help them understand their potential prejudices and to be able to overcome those. We have what we call employee resource groups, which I'll touch on in a moment. And then we partner with external organizations to drive the success of those employee resource groups and our whole diversity and inclusion strategy. So when we talk about employee resource groups, we have multiple groups that are here to both represent, to bring together underrepresented communities within our organization. Starting with Outer In to represent our LGBT plus communities. We also, for disabled people, for Enable In, but our largest is actually Women at LinkedIn. And Women at LinkedIn, it has the mission of creating a diverse and inclusive culture, enabling women, empowering women to further their careers and bring their true selves to work. And we have 21 chapters across the globe for our Women at LinkedIn. It's our largest employee resource group with over 1,000 people as part of the Women at LinkedIn group. And with that, we partner with a lot of external organizations. One of my favorites being, and that I'm involved in Singapore, unfortunately they had an event on last night, which I couldn't make because I'm with you lovely people. But He for She is a fantastic organization about creating male allies to enable women to further their careers. And we work extensively with external organization such as, so for our Women in Tech, which is a real challenge for us, getting women into technical roles within the organization. But we partner with other big tech firms to do big events, to be able to encourage women into the industry. I talked about our Women at LinkedIn program, and one that I'm really passionate about, which is called Empower In. This is an initiative that we launched first here in Asia Pacific last year, and that I'm one of the founding members of. And for this program, we encourage some of our more experienced individual contributors within the organization and first-time managers. And it's a 6-month program where we bring them all together to be able to network with each other, to be able to set themselves up for future leadership roles. We do training programs such as one called Own the Room, which is an external facilitator. And this is around helping women be far more confident around public speaking, around speaking within a group situation and projecting in the most positive way. I've actually luckily had 2 of my team have attended this program, one of which is actually interviewing for a leadership role right now. And so we've seen really, really great success in this program and are looking to roll out on a global basis. It's really great that here within Asia Pacific, we put together initiatives which are adopted on a global scale. And so this is all great, these initiatives, but how do we actually measure how successful we are being? And at LinkedIn, we are one of the first technology companies to actually publish our diversity data. We say if you can't measure it, you can't fix it. So we're really open about how we're doing on this score, and with a focus on gender diversity, which from 2014 has been one of the key priorities, and actually it's still to this day one of his top 3 key priorities within the organization. So on a global basis, of our 11,000 employees, 42% are female. This has grown just slightly from 41% in 2016. Within our non-tech area, so sales, marketing, operation, it's slightly higher. We have slightly more females in the organization. And within tech, this is an area that I'm sure many of you that are within the tech industries can empathize with. We've found it very challenging to be able to increase our females within tech. It has increased from 20 to 21%, but we still have a long way to go. And we partner with both educational institutions and doing external events to be able to promote the opportunities within science, technology, engineering. But one area that we have seen a phenomenal increase, and whilst still not where we would like it to be, women in leadership has risen massively at LinkedIn. We're currently at 38%, but going back to 2014, this was at just 25%. So whilst we would love to get to parity, it's still been a huge seismic shift from where we were just 3 years ago. And lastly, on the measurement piece, I told you about that we, every 6 months, we'll do what we call an employee voice survey. This is a survey sent to all 11,000 employees where they get to anonymously give their true feedback about what it's like to work at LinkedIn. And one of the key things we look at is engagement. So this is an NPS score, and we ask questions like, I make an effort to help others to feel like they belong at LinkedIn, and even if I'm having a tough time at work, I still feel like I belong at the company. And this is great. 91% is, as I say, an NPS score, which is completely off the charts, not just in the tech industry, but in industries in general. And this itself has grown 80% from 80% just 2 years ago. So back to Mike and his story around understanding his leadership team was not where, and his realizing his unconscious bias. He's obviously taken the business a long way, and by having that as one of his key priorities in the last 2 years, he's grown his leadership team to be 30% female. But as I say, we're still not there yet. And I love this quote from Martin Luther King, and saying, if you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But we must strive to keep moving forward. And so for each and every one of you, no matter where you are on your journey around diversity and inclusion, there's still progress to be made. So I'd like to just finish on some of what I believe are key takeaways. When I reflect on us at LinkedIn about how we've been through this journey, these are the kind of steps that you need to go through as an organization to be able to make this movement forward. So firstly, it starts with understanding your current state. Being able to audit your organization, your demographic, to find out where you are at the moment and what areas need to be improved. And then once you come up with a strategy, it's so critical to be able to engage and encourage your entire employees to own it. For example, our Women at LinkedIn chapter for Asia Pacific is run by a lady called Sam Garrard, and she is a salesperson within one of our business lines. She's a key account manager. But it's not run by our executives of the region. It's run by people that have the passion. We encourage and give them the power to be able to lead these organizations as a career development for them as well. And she does an amazing job. But you can't do this without your executive buy-in. It has to be a directive from the top. So it has to, if it's not on their agenda, it's up to you, the HR folk in the room, the business leaders in the room, to put this on the agenda. And then I showed some of the organizations that we partner with. We partner with our, I suppose, our competitors in the likes of Facebook and Google around doing events. But it's also important to partner with companies like Navigos, who can help you identify the best people to come and join your organization to be able to address the diversity and inclusion and belonging within your company. And lastly, as I mentioned, if you can't fix what you can't measure. So I would really implore you to obviously take a view of the demographic of your organization. Getting to the stage of publishing that data is a big step, I understand. But also being able to survey your organization to really get a pulse on how people are feeling and areas that you can work on, and that will help define your strategy. That will help you put together initiatives to be able to address any problems that come up through the data. So I was really pleased to share a story with you. I'm also really interested to hear your stories. I'm interested to answer any questions. We'll be running a panel later. So that's it for me. Thanks very much.